Yes, Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Yes,
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Playhouse.
that's right. That's right, and it's going to be a good one tonight.
I'm not really.
Oh, you're not. Hold on a second. Wait. I got you. I got
going
you.
on?
I got you. Let me get you. So you're good there. No, not you. You be quiet. So tonight's going to be great because I can't wait to do this story. Anthony, you want to talk about who our guest is going to be tonight?
Tonight, Tank the Tech will be joining us to talk about how expensive it is to tour. Tank is a good friend of mine. He is Electric Callboy's tour manager. He's got a YouTube channel where he talks about, a lot of things going on in the industry, particularly the rock and metal industry. He's a streamer, and he talks a lot about, behind the curtain look at the way things work, and sometimes drama. I've seen some of his videos talk about, different festivals that that have gone sideways, and it's really interesting stuff. I love to get information about things like the way things work, like the gears behind the curtain. And when Frank, you had mentioned that you saw this video of the singer of Garbage talking about how expensive it is to tour, how they can't tour anymore in the U.S. I thought the perfect person to talk to about something like this would be Tank. I can't think of anyone better. So
No, it's going to be great because I want insight on that. Mike is in the chat room, and he said, "Frank, where is it? You want to hear it?"
all right, yeah. But what is this? Is another AI?
Mike is just going crazy with the AI right now, and he said, "You got to play this when you guys go live tonight. I promise it's clean. You want to hear it?"
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
This is from Petey Face.
Welcome to the Playhouse. Hosted by Frank from the Quiet Frankly Show and Anthony Vincent from 10 Second Songs. What's this? What's this? It's Frank and Ant's show. Oh my God. They're brothers! The show begins now!
That sounds like something that Devin Townsend would do. Doesn't that sound like a Devin Townsend production?
Right. Well, it sounds like something Mike would do when he was just recording his voice.
Mike, you just got to.
Mike with the voice changer. That's basically the same energy of what you just played.
He should just go back to the old way. Actually, that sounded like his laugh at the end, but everything else sounded like a Devin Townsend puppet show.
Yeah. But sometimes I'm confused when he makes the AI stuff because sometimes it's actually, I guess because it's in his style and the voice that he would normally do something, Mike, that I feel like did he put his voice through a filter or something? Because it sounds, or was that just prompts?
I don't know. He's going to have to tell us because some of it does sound like him. No, Willie, if people in the chat room right now, they want to know if it's an inside joke. No, you guys were there for the entire history of whatever that was. Mike just wanted to make us something.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so anyway,
I mean, now anytime we do anything, if I do a race, and I have a picture from the race and Mike gets his hands on it, there's I know that there's going to be at least a few AI videos and images made from it.
I loved it. I loved it.
But before that, it was like he would do stuff with other apps. Like before AI was a thing, this was just a thing that Mike always did.
And then the OG app was Fruity Loops.
Oh yeah,
remember that? All of his first beats, and then he would start rapping over those beats. And we got to go into the archives.
That was a lot of people's first program, Fruity Loops. Although my first program was Adobe Edition, Cool Edit Pro. Oh man, Wow.
That was in the bedrooms, right? When you were recording inside the closet.
Well, we had a compact Presario, and it would keep overheating. So we installed a fan in the back of it to keep blowing on it so that it wouldn't overheat as much.
Because none of our computers back then were like stock. Like we never went to Staples or went to Circuit City and bought our saved up money for a computer. We didn't have money, so we would take parts out of every computer shell that we have and try to cobble something together. And we come up with some serviceable Frankensteinish machines, but still. And
we would stretch that out for a long time. Yeah. I remember, our Uncle Rob. He gave me the US 122 interface. It's one of the very first interfaces back then for home recording equipment. And that was like 2006. And, we used that up until, we had that interface for a long time.
Yeah.
I used that interface for years, even after I got even after I got my Mac. No, when I got the Mac, I got the M-Box too, because I was using Pro Tools and stuff like that. What a journey life is.
Yeah, it really is.
Music technology, where it went, where it's gone, what was available to us back then and what wasn't available to us. Think about back then. We used to go to, when we wanted to record a demo with our old band, we would have to go to a producer, or you would have to go somewhere to record it. And there was only a few people knew how to do that, and had an actual competent studio setup. But then eventually it became this thing where people started to, like, home recording equipment started to become a little bit more available.
That started around the time that we did our last. I remember talking to Les, our first producer, which you're right, we should get him on the show.
Yeah, because he was frustrated with that. A lot of people were. I'm surprised that there's even anybody who still has a business recording people. But there is still people. Like, I'll still get recommended some videos that come up on TikTok or something of like a recording engineer saying, this is what I've learned in recording bands. This is the mistakes that people make. I'm like, damn, you still have a job? That's impressive. Because right now with AI, the way things are going, like, it's crazy.
Well, it's got to be one of those things, like with everything else. You have to have multiple streams of income, where if you're available to somebody to do some mixing and mastering, some voiceovers, maybe you're working with some studios, contract work with like Foley. If you're a Foley artist, like our friend Les was, I have to imagine that it just you have to become like a one-stop shop to be able to be relevant there, and still you might have a paper route on top of it. You still might be delivering newspapers on top of it just to make ends meet for Christmas shopping or something. It's just nuts. Hey, I think Tank is in the room. Let's bring him in.
Okay, that's what I was just trying to get him on.
Okay.
So if he's already here.
Yes, no, he's here, and he's live from where? He's in Europe, right?
Yeah, you're in Germany, right, Tank?
Yeah.
Tank?
And what time is it over there?
It is 1:09 a.m.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for staying up with us, man. First of all, it's great to meet you. I got to meet you briefly beforehand. When did you guys meet and become friends?
Well, we met through Electric Callboy. I was going to do a collaboration with them, and my management at the time, one of my managers was based in Germany, and he knew their management. So we were talking about doing a collaboration, and then he's that didn't really pan out at the time, but we had set it up so that I would go over to one of their shows in the city. So that's how we made that connection. That's where I met you for the first time, Tank. But we also had a group going. So we're in, like, at first it was a WhatsApp group of all these different YouTubers, music YouTubers, who would talk and just like exchange ideas and just like talk about being content creators and stuff. And now there's a Discord group. It moved to Discord. So that's another way that we know each other. So yeah, that's our story.
Tank, you there?
Yeah, where
Oh,
was yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, hotel internet in Germany, dude, it's brutal. Like I've been struggling to like do any of my work or anything that I've been having to do. I actually thought about staying at our rehearsal space until I did this with you guys, just so I would have better internet. Um, but what was that? What was that first show in New York? Was it the at the pier or was there one before that?
The first show that I went to a couple of shows when you guys played New York. The first one was when you headlined the PlayStation Theater, and
That's right.
but it's called, what is it called now? The Palladium? Is that it?
I don't know.
Well,
It changes every other year.
The venue in Times Square.
That used to be Nokia, right?
I don't know. Yeah, the venue in Times Square.
Yeah.
That's where we went. That's where I saw you guys for the first time. And then we saw each other. What was it, last May at Pier 17?
Yeah, that was, I remember that one more than the Palladium one. And it's so funny, it just hit me that I think it is Palladium because you guys know how it is too, like especially living in an area like New York and stuff where like all those venues get renamed all the time.
Yeah.
There's venues that I grew up with at home that I still refer to them as what they were called 20 years ago, even though the name's changed like 10 times.
Yeah.
Because to me, that Palladium was like the Best Buy theater at one point, and that's how I remember it.
Right.
Best Buy.
Best Buy. I know that
Yeah.
it was definitely the PlayStation Theater at one point.
It was definitely. I think it might have been Nokia back years.
It was.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just good. And Tank, when did you first get into, like, what was your first gig in the business like this, especially when you're breaking in and you're on the road and you're a tech for one person or another, or you're just managing the entire tour. Tell us about that before we get into the modern day music biz and the realities of taking an act on the road.
Yeah, so I won't count the time that I was actually in a band, even though I feel like you do learn a lot with that. My band and I toured together for like 3 years straight, nonstop, just a van and a trailer, us. Never got signed, but we always got on like big package tours. So we learned a lot from other people that took us out back in the day. And then, if I'm being honest, I just got tired of being broke. Like there was a good 3 years of my life where I think I probably had no more than like $30 or $40 at a time. And I just got so burned out of it that I kind of shared this with one of the bands that we were opening for on tour. And they're like, well, if you ever decide to quit, we'll hire you. And that's what I did. I quit my band. And the first band I ever worked for was a band called Red, based out of Nashville, Tennessee. And started out just doing like merchandise and lighting because I did lighting in a venue and I knew how to do that. And it slowly became one of those gigs where they were always kind of at like a lower mid level. And rather than hiring a new crew guy and having to pay somebody like more money, they were just like, hey, we kind of think we need this job done too. Think if we just kicked you like an extra $50 a day, you'd do that. So me trying to learn as much as I could and, be like, yeah, I'll do it. At one point working for them, I was doing merch, lighting, drum teching, bass teching. I learned how to do pyro for one tour that we did.
Huh.
And I was also basically like the assistant tour manager too. And then I worked for them for a few years and then just kind of worked my way up the ladder and just got into different jobs. So like throughout my 20 years of touring, for a good portion, like 6 years of that, I was doing merchandise primarily for a lot of big bands. And then I got into teching. And then for like 4 years after that, I was just drum and bass teching. And then I became a guitar tech for like 5 years. But my real like job and passion that I always wanted to do was tour manage. And I always had the opportunities on some tours to like be a tour assistant and stuff like that and learn from other tour managers. And then I've tour managed a couple small tours, but then this Electric Callboy thing kind of happened on accident completely. And then
How did that
yeah, I've
happen?
been with them ever since.
So,
It's been
so like,
this-
what's the story of how you met Electric Callboy officially?
So they when I first started my YouTube channel during the pandemic, I was primarily doing reactions at the time, which I don't do a lot of anymore. but I discovered them from Hypa Hypa when they released that single because the music video was crazy too. And I think a lot of people mistakenly think that because I was also in the music industry, we just kind of knew each other. And that's not the case at all. We kind of shared Instagram messages back and forth here and there. But I randomly got a phone call one day, and I think it was like 2022, from a international number on my phone that I didn't have. And at the time, I didn't know country codes. So I was like, who is this? And I didn't answer, of course. Like we don't answer those calls. Um, and then I got a text message, and he's like, hey, this is the manager for Electric Callboy, and it's not announced right now, but they're planning to do their first headlining U.S. tour, and we would feel really good if we had an American on the tour with us. And we know you guitar tech, so we want to know if you'll come guitar tech for us. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And as the tour started getting closer and closer, I kind of offered up my help. Like, yeah, I have a lot of contacts in the U.S., so if you need production, gear, buses, trucks, I'll help out with that. And as we got closer to the tour, they sent me their crew list over of like who was coming with, and they had their normal guitar tech on there. So it's like, so I called their manager, and I'm like, if your guitar tech's coming, what am I doing? They're like, well, we kind of just talked and figured we were hoping you would just tour manage at this point. So I was just like, okay.
Wow. That's
And,
one hell of a way
Yeah,
to
we're
get-
gonna let you know later, but
Yeah, and I honestly had never tour managed a tour that size before, but I've always wanted to do this, so I didn't say anything. I was just like, okay. Like, and I just kind of, as they say, grabbed the bull by the horns and just went for it. And long story short, that tour went so well that they came to me like halfway through the tour, and they're like, if we started bringing you with us everywhere and hired you, like, could you do the same job you do here, like in Europe and Asia and wherever else we go? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Okay, so
So-
for everybody at home who's listening and they're getting an inside view on what the how the gears of the clock work for a traveling musical act. A tour manager is essentially like an executive producer. You're going out there making sure that you're just event managing everything. So all of the techs, you're making sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be. What is the primary functions of the tour manager?
The biggest thing for me is mostly logistical stuff. And I think what helps me is because I've done almost every other job on the road at some point, it helps me as a tour manager understand what everybody else needs and how everybody else works. So this crew has been with the band for a while, and I have full trust in everybody to get their jobs done. Like, I don't need to watch people. I don't need to babysit people. So for me, the most important thing is all the logistical aspects of the tour, like doing the routing for the tour, depending on where we are, being the one that's booking the travel or the buses or the trucks, and renting gear if we need to. On a daily basis, I advance shows, do the schedule on everything, and I'm kind of the point person just to make sure kind of the wheels are spinning correctly. Like, usually if there's a problem during the day, I'm the person that needs to fix stuff, or that can make the call on things that are being fixed. But I always tell people this, and it's crazy. I think the majority of my work is actually done before a tour starts.
Very interesting. And I want
Yeah.
to play this clip now. That the real reason why I said, Ant, you got anybody that would be able to really fill in some spaces, gaps in knowledge of this? And he said, oh, we got to bring my friend Tank on. And it's this statements that were made by Shirley Manson when I think they were in Colorado a couple of weeks ago. And and then when you came on here and started telling your story about how you stayed on the road for 3 years straight with your band, and you never had more than $30 in your pocket at any given time, and I started thinking about what kind of a backbreaking, soul crushing reality that is for people who just want to do this as a as a career. And then I listened to Shirley Manson, who is the lead singer of Garbage, that's been around for decades now. And you would think that they can just point and click to any part of the country, like the United States, and be able to go and set up a show at a theater and have it be profitable. But let's take a listen to what she said a couple of weeks ago in Colorado. Here it is.
We have announced that this is our last headline tour of North America. By that we mean it has become entirely unsustainable for a band like us to come and tour anywhere except the coasts. And it's upsetting, but we've had a glorious 30-year career, and we really have no complaints. But I bring this up every night because I think it's imperative that we all start to understand what exactly is going on in the music industry. And it's difficult to get your head around, right? Because you see all these big pop stars, and they're making billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they're rich and they're glamorous and they're amazing. But the problem is that most of the music industry is not made of these big pop stars. They're made of working musicians. And this is not a pity party for us. This is an alarm call for all the young generations of musicians who are in our wake and who we feel duty bound to speak up for, because there's nobody speaking up for them. There is no governmental body, there's no fucking real effective union for musicians that fights for young musicians to get paid. The average musician makes $12 a month on Spotify. They're sleeping in their vans, they're holding down numerous jobs, and they're playing their guts out every night. And the fact that they are not even able to sell a record, and it's taken from them by rich motherfuckers on streaming platforms who get paid royally, by record labels who get paid royally, by ticket masters who get paid royally, by merch companies who get paid royally. The list goes on and on and on. There's accountants, there's lawyers, they all fucking getting paid, except for the musician.
Now I gotta say right there, when you were talking about how I didn't have $30 in my pocket, and then I quit my band to go and essentially work for another band that had already had some kind of a financial foothold in there, I started thinking about that one line right there, that the musician is not making the money, but there's guaranteed money because everything else needs to be a sunk cost for them. You know, you have to consider the staff, and then at the end of all that, and this is just the way it goes, it always has been this way, then the band gets paid, and then you got to split that amongst your bandmates. So let's just start with that. Talk a little bit about that right there. First of all, why is it that Garbage, they're only going to be able to play the coasts and not fly over country? To me, I feel like being able to do smaller venues in the interior of the country might have been actually more cost effective, as opposed to the gigantic cities with all the red tape and all that other stuff. Can you make sense of that for us?
Yeah, that's more of a travel cost thing, because when they're flying overseas, if they're saying they're only going to hit the East Coast from now on, or maybe go to the West Coast, that is because the cost of tour buses and transportation and trucking right now for a longer tour is astronomical. So for me, hearing that tells me that they would rather just fly to, say, New York, rent a bus for a week or two and just hit the coast and then go home. Because if they stay any longer and have to go across the country in a bus, I mean, dude, the cost of one tour bus for a month is something I don't think a lot of people realize. And I love that she talked about this, but at the same time, I don't think people truly really understand the cost, because let's be honest, the music industry hasn't always been transparent, especially when it comes to money and numbers. Nobody likes talking about that. And I think part of that is from the old school rock star mentality. Like everybody that's been a musician has always wanted to be in a band and be famous and make money, and, you know, lifestyles of the rich and famous type of stuff. But the reality isn't always that sometimes. And I think for a long time in this music industry, people have tried to keep up that facade of like, yeah, we're touring, so we're making money and we're living comfortably and stuff like that, rather than being transparent. But now in the last like 5 years, you started having a lot more bands being outspoken about this, because things have changed so much where the list she was listing off, like Spotify people, the merch companies, which is something people don't think about, and then managers, lawyers, there's so many people that are getting paid that a band is a business and the band doesn't make money until all of those expenses are paid. I've been on tours working for bands where I know by the end of the tour, me as a crew person made more money than the actual band members on the tour did.
That's what I assumed based on how you opened up the show tonight. Because that was the choice you made from being, you said everybody's dream, everybody's musician's dream. You want to be in front of a crowd. You want that recognition. You want to be able to provide, leave a mark behind. So for you to have made that choice to say, I'm gonna leave my music behind right now to be able to at least pay some bills, to go and join and be support for somebody else's band. You have to imagine that's crazy, right? Give us some figures. Blow our minds with some figures for like a small tour. What are we looking at, especially right now, a small tour? Because we know the big ones, maybe they're big enough to be able to just muscle through any of the costs. But what are we looking at with some figures?
So right now I'm actually, because it was announced, Electric Callboy, we're going to be doing a North American tour in April and May. So the first thing that I do when that happens is start looking into buses and trucks if we need them, if the tour is going to be that big, which it will, because buses and trucks right now are rented out months and months and months in advance by bigger tours. So if you don't get on them months in advance, you're not going to get one. I have been getting quotes back on buses for a North American tour right now. And from the time we need to start using them, it's going to be about mid-April. And the quotes go through the end of May when the tour ends. Even though there is like a break in the middle, they make us rent it out for that. So anyways, we're talking like 6 weeks. Let's say 6 weeks of renting a bus. I have gotten multiple quotes from bus companies for 2 buses because we are bringing over a lot of crew with us for this next tour. So 2 tour buses for 6 weeks. I have gotten quotes for $275,000. I have gotten another quote for $330,000. And then for trucks to pull the gear, right now we're hoping for 3. That's going to be like the size production. So 3 semi trucks. I've gotten quotes ranging anywhere between $175 or $175,000 for those 6 weeks, up to about 190 something thousand.
That's
so
each
just for transportation alone, you're talking $400,000 for 6 weeks, and that's before you even talk about renting gear, flying gear over, flying the band and crew over, paying the band and crew, or any other expense.
Tank, I have a question. So now, this is, for anyone who's watching who really does not know how this works, people who are like just casual music listeners who assume that a band who is signed has this money someplace, like the label's putting up the money. Where's this money coming from? From what I heard, and I don't know anything about this stuff, the labels don't put up this money, right?
No.
So it comes from, the band has to, all right.
Sorry, the internet connection's making me
No,
sick.
all right,
don't worry about
it, dude. So back in the days, and I mean like, probably leading up to maybe the early to mid 2000s, labels did do a thing called tour support, where they would front money to the band basically as a loan, but they would give them the money up front that they needed to get a tour going. Nowadays, that is not a thing at all.
Okay. So we're talking about nearly $500,000. You're talking about on a medium-sized tour compared to some of the tours that are out there. 2 buses, and you said 2 or 3 semis?
Yeah, we're planning on right now 2 buses and 3 semis is what I was getting quotes for, and we're talking best case like $440,000 just for the rentals, and that does include the driver's pay and stuff like that, but that's just transportation part of the tour, almost $500,000.
Well, yeah, okay, so $500,000 for a 2-month tour.
How the hell does anyone afford it?
Well, I mean, that's the because the other thing, Ant, is that, as Tank said, that those buses are going to be filled with people who all come with a price tag.
Right.
And so you're talking about, when you talk about the per diems, the salaries, whatever it is for all the techs and all the engineers and all that stuff. Now that $500,000 is definitely, yeah, I mean, it has to be over $1 million.
Oh, easily.
And it's a 2-month run, you said.
Yeah, about 6 weeks. Yeah.
Wow, you got the fact that all that has to be recouped and then some in 6 weeks. That adds pressure there too. You would hope maybe you can deal with that if you're on the road for 7 months, but then again, then you have 7 months worth of expenses.
Yeah, and I think one of the big complaints from not music listeners, but concert goers lately is we've seen ticket prices just going up and up and up and up. And it is, I will say, because the music industry has gotten a bit greedy, and you've got outlets like Ticketmaster and a bunch of other stuff that are jacking up prices when they don't need to, in my opinion. But the cost of touring has gotten so high that the bands actually need to price tickets that high to even make a profit or even break even. A lot of the times, bands that travel overseas for tours, the goal is to break even. It's basically a promotional tour. They're just trying to get to a country that fans don't get to see them in normally. And as long as they don't lose money on that, they're happy. So it's all the little costs too. Like, we've talked about the buses and the trucks. Then we have to either rent gear locally or ship it over from Germany. And then you have to fly the crew and the band over. Visas, you have to get visas for everybody coming over to work, and visa costs have skyrocketed. And then once you start doing shows, every single little expense during a day, it doesn't matter what it is, the catering for the crew and the band, even hospitality stuff backstage, like beer, snacks, drinks, water, all that stuff, that's a part of the budget in there. There are venues that will charge you laundry costs for providing towels for you, for like using stage towels during a show. So by the end of a show, if you take the gross amount that was sold in ticket sales, bands will be lucky to make half that as a net, but then everybody else has to get their cut. Management, booking agents, lawyers, crew. So there's a lot of hands that are getting money in there before the band can even see anything. And like I said, the goal of a lot of bands now is to just break even instead of losing money, instead of making money when they're traveling internationally.
So you basically, I mean, if you're going on tour, you're doing it because you have a passion for it. In other words, like you're doing it because you love to do it. You love to be out there, and it's just like you're connecting with fans and stuff. Because I can't see. I mean, years ago, I remember growing up, it would be a common thing that people would say that, musicians make their money on the road. Musicians make their money on the road because, the labels take all the money from the records.
Yeah, you have to go out there to sell merch, they would say.
Right. But now it's like, where do they make their money at all?
Dude, even for me, it's kind of interesting because I can't even answer that well, because record sales have declined. And obviously, like a band like Garbage, who's been around for decades, back in the day, they were making probably good money on royalties from the records. Nowadays, that's not there anymore, because unless you're in the top 1% of artists, you're talking your like Taylor Swift's, Drake's, Kendrick Lamar, stuff like that, they're probably making record money still. Now artists have to rely on streaming, and streaming doesn't pay as well as records do. I actually think that's why you're starting to see a return of vinyl with a lot of people, because fans kind of understand that getting the merch from the bands directly, it supports them more. And with vinyl, they actually make a decent profit on that, and it counts as a record sale. That's why vinyl sales are higher than CD sales right now, because fans are trying to support the bands they like. But right now, a lot of this under a certain level, most bands are making their money on merchandise. Over a certain level, if they're touring in their home country or continent, they're probably doing okay if they budget smart. But club level stuff, which is the majority of bands, are not making a lot of money. I mean, I know they're from New Jersey, but Lorna Shore.
Yeah.
5 years ago, they were still just grinding out club tours and stuff like that. And I had their guitarist Adam on my channel to do like an interview. It was right when their one of their albums came out, and he was sitting in his car on his phone doing the Zoom with me. And I was like, "Where are you at, dude?" He's like, "Oh, I just finished my shift at the grocery store by my house." And I was like, "You work at a grocery store?" He goes, "Yeah, I have to." He's like, "Music's not paying for anything." Now, they finally kind of blew up a little where I'm quite certain he's not doing that job anymore and they can actually make some money touring because they're doing well, but that is the reality right now. That most club bands, even signed notable club bands, are probably all working jobs when they're home and not touring to actually pay their mortgages and their bills and stuff because the music is not doing it.
I just made a quip like
Ah,
that
man.
before you came on the show with us. Anthony and I were talking about what studio technicians and engineers who had home studios that we used to go and record on. I said, well, what are they all doing? They have to have multiple streams, and then I said, and even then, they probably have a paper route on top of it. And but that's just you got to do what you got to do. Here's my question about the labels. That's the last thing I have on what Anthony had asked about tour support, but what would you say the biggest pro, if you're talking about pros and cons, what's the biggest pro of even being signed to a label these days?
At this point in time, it's basically just having that network of people that can get your music out there because labels have PR people, they've got lawyers, they've got all that. You're basically just getting support from people that might have connections and be able to do things for you that you just can't do. Um, that's why you're seeing more artists going independent. And there are a lot of successful artists that are staying independent and not doing label stuff at all because nobody else is seeing that money except for them.
Yeah. 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 We
Well, I guess that's the question. You know, when it comes to Spotify, it's a very interesting thing to me, Spotify and streaming and all that, because you know, she had made the comment, the singer of Garbage, that artists will have $12. They'll make like $12 from Spotify streams. And my question is that because, well, a couple of things. Is that because they're getting, this is music that's played a lot and they don't own the royalties to it? Or do you think that independent artists who have popular music that are getting a lot of streams, are they making a lot of money? Because I think that they would be off of streaming. Because I know, just from being a cover artist, like, putting out cover songs and paying the licenses that I have to pay when I use a distributor like DistroKid or something, if I'm doing a cover song, if I get like if I get a million streams, I'll get about $4,000. That's kind of like a million streams equals $4,000, about that. And if I know people, man. I know people who they'll get 5 million streams a month, and they're making the bulk of their income off of Spotify streams. So it's like, it's interesting to me because that to me tells me then the real potential problem here is the labels, is who's holding the copyright, right?
In some cases, yeah, and it all depends on the deal that an artist has sold. And I don't think Shirley's comment was intentionally misleading, but saying the average artist on Spotify makes $12 a month is, you kind of got to understand the background of that. It's almost similar to like Twitch streamers. Like they say, if you have an average like 100 viewers on every stream you do, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't sound like a lot, you're already bigger than like 90% of other Twitch streamers. It's the same on Spotify. There's so many millions of artists that are putting music on Spotify that, yeah, the average artist is probably only making $12 a month on Spotify because of the just sheer amount of artists that are on there. I personally do know other artists that are in signed bands that actually do make good money from their Spotify royalties. But again, with the music industry, a lot of that is dependent on the contract that was signed with your label and who owns the rights. Like, are you signing away your rights to the label or the publisher when you're doing
Yeah.
stuff? And it really depends. I wish there was a one solid answer for all of this, but there's really not. Like, I couldn't give an exact answer unless I knew the exact deal a band had with their label.
Right.
Yeah, the publishing is the big thing right now, because especially when we were saying what's the pro and con of being signed to a record label these days, and whether or not it makes any sense to do anything outside of being independent. If you have any kind of grasp on how virality and internet marketing works and how to get yourself in front of, I mean, the real thing, what you described right there, the biggest pro of being signed to a label is any number of strings you can pull to better distribute your music. Well, I think distribution in viral sense is a lot more effective these days. That's where most music consumers are. And if you know how to really start entertaining people online, I mean, you can make a great living. And I think those are probably the best. I don't know if you guys have any examples of this in your personal lives and professional lives with all the people you know, but I'd have to imagine it's a lot easier to establish a really comfortable stream of internet revenue off of the internet based on something that actually creates a demand for you to show up to a venue and take off a lot of the pressure, the financial pressure of going on maybe even just a limited run tour. If your money is really being made off of the tour and on the internet, so that you can show up to a theater somewhere and really not be that raked over the coals with all the cost that's involved.
Mm-hmm. And with the day that we're living in, or day and age that we're living in, like you're kind of saying, like everybody's living for those viral moments right now. Like, it's proven that TikTok and stuff like that is making artists, and even signed bands that have been signed for years, are blowing up. I mean, Lorna Shore, great example. Electric Callboy is a good example. They were a band for 10 years before some of their music videos just started blowing up. But what those viral moments do is exactly what you just said. It makes people want to see it and see more of it and see it live, which is why you've seen, like, Lorna Shore. The last time I saw them 2 years ago in Nashville, playing at a 120 capacity bar. And then the next time they were back, they were playing at a 1,200 capacity club. And then when they were just here last month, they were playing at a 5,000 capacity club. Like, those viral moments they had have made them grow and hyped them so much that there's a demand that people want to see that live. And that's why people are going to the shows.
And in that respect, going out is really just the height of your enjoyment of playing the music, because you probably know that your income is being made passively when you sleep because people are streaming it online. I just have to imagine that's the...
Well, I think, the thing too is, like, it really is more and more people, you see it all over the place. It's this industry, what it seems like is it's a hybrid of playing the social media game, as well as, and if you're a traditional artist and you're going out there, that's got to be, social media's got to be in the mix. Because I think a good example of that is like Matt Heafy is a great example of Trivium. I use him as he's like he's constantly doing something. He's always posting stuff on social media. He's streaming. And he keeps up with it too. And he's got a million different projects going on at once. And I know that could cause burnout for some people, but I've seen this. I've seen this with you. I mean, look, you've got your streaming. You have the channel, the streaming, and this identity as the tour manager of Electric Callboy, which is huge. And think about it. I mean, you wouldn't like if it weren't for you reacting to Hypa online. Like, look where that created a physical thing. Like, now you're their tour manager. So it's got to be a little bit of both. But I was thinking, Frank, when you said before, you said that, like, it's I think what you were, I think from what I understand you were saying was the the idea of making all of the money to fund a tour being a content creator or being online, an artist online, and having, you know, content and being active on social media and whatever, virality, that being the thing that that funds a tour. Is that what you're...
it offsets all of, like, for example, like Tank was talking about when we got on the air here, and that long standing understand, you know, the rite of passage of spending a couple of years straight in a van in your early 20s, if you really want to go out there. Like we knew, like right now, I mean, when you're in your late 30s going into your 40s, that's it. That's not the time to do the 3 years in a van. Yeah, that's what that's like a rite of passage that you do coming out of high school.
Right.
And that's one of those, because you can afford to go out there, live hand to mouth for a little bit, and hopefully get some attention. What I'm saying is, where we are right now, maybe one of the biggest advantages for the kind of landscape we're in right now is that if you play the internet right, and it's very easy to sit into a formula, and if you have something of quality and you're consistent with it, over time you're gonna get some kind of a break. I mean, that's just what it is with the internet, because you can work as hard as you want for yourself, and it could be so much better than what a label can do. In that respect, you can almost like skip over that 3 years of stress being homeless in a van, from that standpoint,
right,
if you play one thing. So that's what I was getting to see if you guys had any examples of that in your Rolodex, people who have actually leveraged that digital only existence into a right off the bat very successful tour, even if it's just small clubs and things like that. But
you know who comes to mind? Tank, Bernth. You know, Bernth and like he does that. Like he's got, he's very, very successful on the this guitarist. I featured on one of his songs in his new album, and he's got Escape the Internet tour. They just built this up. They got a bunch of musicians together, and I don't know exactly what the numbers are or anything, but it seems like the tour went as a success.
I feel like they did a video on that, and it wasn't like they didn't make as much as people would have expected, but they did make money. But like Bernth is a solid example of that, and like he took Charles on the road with him too, and like those are guys that made themselves on social media by showing off their musical skills. To the point when they, like you said, when they were ready to tour, I mean, they were in a bus and they were doing like good crowds and stuff like that. And, I just kind of wanted to add what you were talking about before, those leveraging the social media. The unfortunate part is that some people don't understand that where we are at right now, it's a necessity. Like there are a lot of musicians that don't care about that stuff. They just want to play music. And I understand that. But times change, and where we're at right now, it's like I saw somebody, I can't remember what band it was, but somebody from a band posted like, oh, if you would have told me 10 years ago that in 2025 I'd had to be like in a band and be a social media content creator and be my own PR person and all this stuff, I would have thought you were crazy. And the truth is that kind of is the necessity at this point. And some bands are adapting to it and taking advantage of it, and some people aren't. Unfortunately, it's just the music industry goes through changes, and right now social media is a massive part of the music industry, and if people can't figure that out, unfortunately, oftentimes they just don't do as well as some of their other friends in the music industry.
Yeah, well, what you described right there is the necessity for somebody in 2025 to be both band and their own single client record label, of what all of the support, all of the publicists, all the publicizing, all of the managing stuff like that, even managing like social media and all that stuff. It's not even very strategic. It's not good to hand off all of your social media to a team. people are repulsed by things that are not authentic, that they know that is not going to be authentically run by the person or the group that they're following. So, I mean, it really does become a full-time job. And again, all of those responsibilities used to be rolled into what you got out of signing the record deal and being able to say, we're a signed act. So, yeah, times have changed, and great point there. I don't know if you have anything else, but I have a couple of bonus questions I think would be great before we allow Tank to go to sleep.
Go ahead. Yeah, I don't.
I just feel bad.
I'm sure I can think of a million things, you know. But
I'm good, dude.
Oh, and also whenever you're stateside, I don't know about you, Ant. I would love to have you back, and we could just talk shop. You know, sometime.
Yeah, dude, I'd love for you to see the studio eventually. I mean, I know you. Anytime you come to New York, you're always just swinging by, swinging into the city or whatever. But if there's ever a time that you have some time, and you're in the area, that'd be really cool for you to see the space.
I mean, we'll be in New York again. You guys should both come out. We'll be in New York in May, or Brooklyn more specifically.
I'd love to.
What venue? Do you know what venue you're playing?
Paramount, Brooklyn.
Oh, wow. All right. I'll mark that down.
Yeah.
It's
like the second to last show of the tour or something. Yeah. And then unfortunately, like you said, we're just swinging through. Like we have like 3 shows in a row right around there. We go from like, I think it's like DC to New York, then to Boston, and then the tour ends, and then we come straight back here. And the crazy thing is, when I start that North American tour with the guys, I will actually not be living in the US anymore. Like me and my family will be living here now. So I'll have to actually fly to the US to work, not even living there anymore, which is crazy.
Wow. Are you have plans, or have you already learned German?
I'm pretty good at this point from the time I've spent with the band at understanding a lot of stuff. I'm good at reading it. And like, if I sit in the dressing room with them and they're all talking German, like I can pick up like 80% of it and then fill in the blanks. And I've been learning German for a couple years. And if I'm in a situation where like I'm at a supermarket, a restaurant, whatever, like I know what I need to say, so I can take care of those situations. But if I were to have to sit and have a conversation like this, there's no chance, because it is a very difficult language, and my brain just does not work fast enough to get the grammar right and everything the way I need to say it. But fortunately, most everybody over here speaks English anyway. So if I just apologize to them in German and say I don't speak much German, and they're like, "Oh, I speak English," I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Oh. I think that it's I think that as long as people see that you're making the attempt, that's always just like, you know what, tip of the cap to you, kid. Okay, I speak your language. I'll give you a break, but keep studying. I think that we would be
unless they're French.
Oh yeah, no. I know
they just hate everybody if you try.
That's yeah. I hear even when they're over here, it doesn't matter. It's weird. Nothing's good enough. Yeah. All right. Here's my first question for you, and I love asking this one. Tank, you have been stranded, marooned on a desert island, and you could only bring one type of cheese. What is it going to be?
Oh man, I thought you were going to ask me what are your top 5 albums you would bring? Cheese? Yeah. Holy shit. Dude, this is going to be such a generic answer. I love Swiss cheese, dude.
Okay.
Like, although if I'm going to get fancy, I might, you know what? I think I'd bring some smoked Gouda.
Oh, that's a good one.
A soft
I think I would
cheese.
Do that.
I'm down with you with the Swiss there too. Even if it's Alpine lace Swiss cheese, the one with the little tiny holes. What about you, Anthony? What would you
Probably
do?
Like aged cheddar.
Sharp?
Yeah. Aged sharp white cheddar.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There you go. That's nice. So smoked Gouda for Tank, and a sharp aged white cheddar for Anthony. All right. Star Wars. I've been asked this question recently, so I'm going to ask a couple of people I speak to over the next couple of weeks the same thing. I need to know from you guys, what order are you sitting down if somebody has not watched Star Wars before? What order are you showing somebody Star Wars? We're talking about first 6. What order are you giving it to them for the first time through? And if you are a seasoned Star Wars fan, what order do you watch for yourself?
First timers, I'd say they have to watch them in the date of release, not chronological from 1 through 6, but 4, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay. As a seasoned Star Wars fan now, I would watch them chronologically if I was doing like a marathon, but there's a big reason for that. Like I don't like watching things for the first time in chronological order. I like watching in the date it was released because think about this. One of the biggest story twists and plots of Star Wars is in episode 6 when you find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father. That's like one of the biggest movie twists ever.
Yeah.
But if you watch it in chronological order, you're already going to know that.
I know. Yeah, that's right. You can't
watch it.
If any, well, that's assuming you're showing someone that knows nothing about Star Wars, and obviously the whole the big twist is kind of like is such a part of like our culture. Like I mean, you know what I mean? Like everyone knows about
Luke and Leia are born in episode 3.
I'm trying. Listen, by the way, I'm trying to be careful with the way I speak in case there are people who really do want to see Star Wars that don't know, and I don't want to give like a
dude.
big
It's been 50 years.
Spoiler alert.
I know, seriously. Okay. Okay. Great. And so then you'll watch it in order after you're already seasoned.
Yeah.
Okay. Anthony, what do you say?
I think the same thing. I would have no problem watching 1 through 6, just chronologically because I know what's good. And actually, I'd love to do that. I think we did that once. Didn't we do it when we went up to the cabin that time?
We did.
It's cool to do that because it's like you get to see like does this really flow. And it's kind of a little weird because the quality of the video, the quality of the movies has it fluctuates a little bit. The original trilogy is like god tier, like it was just revolutionary for the time, so there was so much ambition that went into each one. There was so much passion, and but then the prequels are just like, I don't know. Looking back now, I know they got a lot of hate at first when they first came out, and there was just like a lot of people were talking about Jar Jar and they were at each other's throats about it. But I don't know, man. Like when you compare it to some of the newer Star Wars stuff, I love the prequels now.
Oh yeah,
I absolutely love the prequels.
Same.
There's nothing like the Disney buyout that made us all start really appreciating the prequels for what they were, especially this. Okay, so here, and this is what I'll say. And Anthony, you let me know. I don't know. Tank, you let me know. I was talking about this last night real quick on my stream, but I love going personally 4, 5, and then you're left off with Luke's got his hand cut off. The big reveal has torn his world apart. The whole familial thing is brought into, and then after Empire Strikes Back, then go to a flashback trilogy 1, 2, 3, and then hit it with Return of the Jedi to complete the Anakin arc. I'm telling you, watch it in that order for yourself one day, and I think it's a lot more enjoyable. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6.
That's actually interesting.
Give it a shot.
I could dig that.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, let me ask you this one last thing, because you're plugged into the world out there. Do you or anybody else know yet who the band was that got kicked off of the Ozzy show?
Oh yeah,
I don't. I don't think I know. Do you know, Ant?
No. I mean, well, what was it again? Who said that the band was asked to play and they were the only band that required to get paid to play, right?
and we heard about that for a couple of weeks. So whenever it's made known who that was that wanted to be paid to play, it's going to be trouble for them. And then it just went away. Ozzy died, and then everything, But I never heard about it, and I just wonder if that.
No, I didn't hear anything.
I would kind of actually at this point, because like, dude, the music industry is so small. When drama happens, everybody talks. Like, I find out about stuff all the time that I had no interest in, like, or I didn't even know about. Somebody's like, "Oh, did you hear what really happened? Was this?" And I'm like, "No." I would actually be willing to bet at this point that it might have just been kind of a rumor that spiraled out of control, because
maybe
at this point, I feel like that information should have got out there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I haven't heard anything about
Because
it.
who put it out there in the first place? That, like, you know, why would they even say anything if they didn't eventually plan on saying who it was? You know, it kind of.
Yeah. I think it was Sharon. I think Sharon actually
Did she
said
really
in an
say
interview or
it?
something that they had to remove a band. I think she said they removed a band from the lineup on the early stages of it, but then everybody like ran with that and just speculated and stuff, and then she never said anything else.
Who could it possibly have been?
I don't know. That's why I was hoping that by this time we would know.
Megadeth?
Maybe. Why would he? No.
That would be so stupid. Wasn't Dave Mustaine wasn't even there?
Was he there? Did they?
I don't know.
That's that I don't know. I just figured I'm going to keep poking around to see if anybody knows, but I don't know why that is such a tightly zipped up kind of a thing still. But
They would never. Because, okay, so what do you think would happen to that band, their reputation, if that came out and that was confirmed true? What would happen to that band? That'd be a stain.
As I Lay Dying, making another return. I think this is the third or
wait a
fourth
second.
one at this point.
Wait.
And I told you guys.
Who the hell is that?
We're live on
I'm sorry, that's you talking. I'm sorry. I wanted to get.
That was actually very well timed because you're like, what would happen to that band? And then I just heard me going, "Oh, As I Lay Dying." And I'm just like,
I know. I thought you were I thought you were dropping some shit on As I Lay Dying.
No. So let me tell you what'll happen and use As I Lay Dying as an example. People love drama, but their memories are so short nowadays that if it came out, let's just say for the argument, let's say it was Megadeth. Megadeth got kicked off because they wanted money. People would shit on Dave for a week, and then they'd forget about it again until like Ronnie Radke said something crazy online or something. Because every week it's just something new that people latch onto.
Dude.
Like this week again, it's the As I Lay Dying thing.
I don't think, you know, it's funny. People always talk about cancel culture and all that stuff. I don't think it exists. I don't think it truly exists.
No, it doesn't. No,
because like, you know, it's amazing. This, like, you know, speaking about As I Lay Dying, this guy, he tried to hire someone to kill his wife. Okay. He went to jail, the whole thing. No one ever thought he was coming back, but he came back, and then he fucked up again, and he came back again, and he fucked up again, and he came back again. It's like he just keeps coming back. He's like Michael Myers, comes back with a new, you know, lineup, a new band lineup every time. It's really incredible. I don't understand. Like, that's why I really don't think, like, people, when it comes to cancel culture, what does someone have to do to completely to never come back? Because like we're talking
There's one answer.
What is it?
It's Lost Prophets.
Oh,
Lost
yeah.
Prophets is the only
Yeah.
band that has effectively been completely canceled that I can even think of.
Right. And that guy just got, you know, and well, think about that.
Is that the guy that just got killed?
He just got killed in jail.
in jail. Yeah.
So I mean that, you know,
Yeah. That
you have to be thrown in jail and killed. That's
You have to be
that's
thrown.
what
Yeah.
right. That's how you're canceled.
Yeah, if you really think about it, cancel culture is really just about getting flogged. You get outed for making some sort of a mistake at varying degrees, some of them much worse than others. That sometimes you just get caught in a candid exchange that was never supposed to be made public, and then you just kind of get tied to a post and flogged a little bit, and then okay, well, when are you playing next?
Yeah, I definitely listen. I definitely think there are a lot of people out there that like deserve whatever they get. Like one of the big things now with the whole cancel culture thing is like we keep seeing these viral videos online of like, you know, like Karens at sporting events, and then they find out who they are and they like get them fired from their job and stuff like that. But that's what you just said. I don't think people really want to fully cancel everybody. I think they just want to have like a public stoning for like a week or two, and that's really about it. And then they forget about it and go on to the next person.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah,
I think
I
you
agree.
guys. Good points. Oh well, how often do you stream, Tank? I want to make sure that we leave off with everybody knowing that here you are. Your video's not playing now. Tank the Tech on YouTube. I have actually tagged Tank in the description of this episode. So if this is the first time that you're meeting Tank, click on through. And how often do you update? And do you update while you're on tour?
So it's changed a lot recently. Like my normal Twitch streaming schedule is like Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays when I'm home from tour. When I'm on tour, whenever I have a day off in a hotel and I feel like it, I'll just throw up this setup and stream for a while. But now that I've been so busy lately with the tour preparations and my family's moved to Germany and dealing with all the immigration and stuff, I'm lucky if I've been getting like 3 videos up a month when normally it would be like 3 videos a week. So right now I'm kind of not getting as much content up as I would like to, but there's a lot of old videos. So if anybody wants to check it out, go for it. And I appreciate you tagging that and linking that.
Wonderful. Well, I hope. Well, obviously, you're about to embark on a big U.S. tour with Electric Callboy, and I hope that we get to meet in person. Ant, thank you for bringing him on and introducing him to me too. That was great. And I don't know. Yeah, I hope that whenever you start updating again, you have a bunch more people subscribe to you. So there you go.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Seriously, I really love doing stuff like this because at the end of this, you guys have to do the work, and I don't. I can just sit here and talk,
Right.
and then I'm done. Yeah,
That's that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to do this again sometime then.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, brother. Well, have yourself a good sleep, and send the best to the family and the crew from all of us over here.
Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Absolutely, man.
There he goes.
Have a good one.
Tank the Tech over there in Germany. Well, isn't that something?
It's eye-opening, right?
It is. Hey, before we go on, because we have I just want to do some, we'll just be hanging out for a couple more seconds. And whatever, Anthony and I would like to thank our sponsor tonight for making this all happen. This is a joint project of ours, and I'm really excited because we're booked. We're booked until, I don't know, we got people coming in until December right now. And next time we get together on November 7th, we're going to have Tim Gorgon, the former singer of Within the Ruins, and also our singer from back in
Our very first singer from our first metal band in high school. Well, when I was in high school.
We're going to be able to listen to old recordings that night and laugh at ourselves and give ourselves some credit where it's due.
Our old guitarist is going to be in the room too. So I mean,
he is coming?
Yeah, he's going to come as well.
this
So actually, the entire our former band, my first band, your first band, is going to be in studio. That's going to be interesting.
Wait a second. This is the first time that you, me, Tim, and Kyle have been in the same room since when?
Since like 2017. Remember that one time they came here? Remember that one time they came here they stopped by the studio?
We were all there at the same time. I thought it was just like, it was never all four of us in the same room.
No, I think it was all. I think it was.
Oh, wow. Well, this is going to be great.
A lot of reminiscing, a lot of watching old clips and listening to old recordings.
Yeah. Okay. So that's November 7th. We got Toby Wright coming on sometime soon. We're pulling the strings on a lot of friends and colleagues to come in to do some fun stuff. It's not always going to be music. We're going to talk movies, just talk whatever. But like I said before, we get into the last couple of minutes of our show tonight, we want to thank MindThyMitochondria.com, our good friend Molly. And here it is. Aging gracefully isn't just about looking good, ladies and gentlemen. No, it is not. It's about feeling vibrant, staying active, and supporting your body's ability to repair and thrive. Enter BPC 157, a naturally inspired peptide that's generating buzz for its potential to promote healing, reduce inflammation, and support overall wellness. It's a healthy aging tool you didn't know you needed, and you don't need to be a fancy biohacker to get the benefits of one of the world's most used peptides. So you can hit up MindThyMitochondria.com today and use promo code Playhouse for an unheard of exclusive 25% off for our audience. The link is going to be put in the chat, and it's also in the episode description. Go ahead, and if you have any questions, there's a wonderful blog section. You could also reach out to the staff over there. Molly is very informative. She's wonderful, and you got to look into this. The peptides are really taking people by storm. Anthony's got them now. We're going to put our mother on the peptides soon once she gets the okay, because she just has shoulder surgery, and that should help things out. All right. So, hey.
Absolutely.
Anthony,
I'm just waiting for the effects to kick in. I'm just I'm looking to.
Oh, I'm high as a kite right now. No. Okay, hold on, Ant. A couple of things for you real quick, because we told last time we got together, we talked about AI. Take a look at this. Out to pasture. Also, we were talking about Jurassic World with Walt. Hey, Walt was in the chat room actually tonight. Okay.
What the hell am I reading?
Hollywood's animal actors can't find work. They've helped fetch Oscars, boosted box office, and upstaged their A-list co-star, but these days, Hollywood animals can't seem to book a gig. And of course, it's for everything you think. Rocco, whose credits include Veronica Mars, Jane the Virgin, The Morning Show, one of many four-legged actors in LA who aren't landing Hollywood gigs like they used to. As AI continues to advance, more productions are opting to create animal performances in post rather than film with the real thing. Can you imagine Air Bud with a cartoon dog?
So stupid.
That is,
I feel bad. I don't know. I feel bad for that dog and that duck on the couch.
Let's go look at them again.
Look, they're just like they're depressed. They don't know what the hell's going on.
Nobody's hiring me.
They don't give a shit. It's the owners that are upset. Well, listen, man. I don't think anybody should be replaced by AI creatively. I really am. I'm really against it. It's fucking pissing me off, as you can tell, as I'm laughing.
Yeah, I'm mad. I'm pissed off.
I am though. It's like it's but here's the thing that I'm learning when it comes to like the stuff that I do musically, and I see more and more. Like I forgot, I didn't even mention this because Tank was on and everything, and we were deep in conversation. But I put out my first 20 style video since like a couple of years ago. So today I released Break Stuff in 20 Styles by Limp Bizkit, and it's funny because I haven't done one of these in a while, and the last time I did it, AI really wasn't a thing. AI like covers and AI, generated music. People weren't even using it for that.
Are you getting accused?
No. What's interesting is the positivity. I'm seeing more positivity when I do this because people are like, "Oh man, yeah, take that AI." Like they're saying stuff like, it's really special to see someone not using AI. While there's all this AI slop all over the place. And the funny thing is that there's even like someone, if I do see a comment like, "Oh man, you didn't do a good job with Eminem, dude." Like, I'm thinking, my mind is like, well, you can have AI do that if you want, but I'm not AI. I'm human. Like,
you know what's great about that? Because it really does put something into perspective about, well, how I mean, ever since you put out that first video in 2014, no matter the reason why you put it out there, you're just showing the production range and all that stuff, and then it became its own thing. And ever since 2014, that is all people always, put you through the ringer to see, you didn't do, that doesn't sound good, man. You don't sound anything like this. Well, you don't sound, and like, what were they ever looking for? Perfection,
right?
A facsimile, an absolute copy of this other person. And now the AI is out there, and you can essentially press a few buttons, and clone a person's voice and create that facsimile, that carbon copy. It almost, and then when you listen back on it, you go, when you're left with that perfection that you were looking for the entire time, you realize it's lifeless. There's nothing there. And it makes, like, it's almost like with baseball and all of the, like, they're bringing in AI and robotics. Next year is going to be the first time that they have robot sensors that are going to be you're going to be able to check bad calls on home plate umpires, which is just like, why do you got the human there? Like, yeah, I understand you. Everybody kind of like scoffs at the whole thing. Oh, you baseball purists, you want the human element there. Well, why don't we just get the balls and strikes right? Well, because perfection is not human.
Right.
Perfection is not human.
Right.
And I want humanity to be reflected in all the things that we do, whether it be athletics or art or anything. Who cares? Some things could be made more efficient, but to chase perfection is just, I don't know about that.
And that's what I'm realizing, doing this. I mean, this is not something I plan on doing for the rest of my life, but I think it's the past week or the past couple of weeks, there was a couple of days where I thought to myself, because I was looking at I was getting recommended a lot of AI content because I saw one thing, and then next thing you know, I'm getting slammed with 10 other videos of Motown versions of songs, rock songs, metal songs, Motown version of this, soul version of this, jazz version of this. And I'm like, and musically, sonically, it's getting better too. It's getting better than what AI was before. And, but then I put out something like, today, and this was something that me and my producer, we do everything ourselves. It's all between us. We've never, I've never even used pitch correction on my voice when I was self-producing myself. Like, I'm the kind of person that does 50 takes. I'll do 50 vocal takes until I get something right. I'll do 100 vocal takes. I don't even realize I'm doing 100 till I look back at the footage, and it's like, it's like an hour long. So the fact that people really do appreciate the art still, and they do. It's a lot of people who do. That makes me feel better, as long as I just stay in this lane and I never, use AI. Not that I ever had the desire to, or plan to ever. But
no, it's crazy how after 11 years, now we're in a position where there's a new kind of perspective because of this whole. I even hate calling it AI because the oxymoron of artificial intelligence. It's great. It's image generation. It's just CGI. It's not traditionally computer generated media. Maybe you call it CGM. But when you listen to the Motown version of Korn, "Freak on a Leash," you're just like, Well,
that was generated by Professor Nick Harrison. He's a content creator. He's not a musician. He's like an ex-professor, college professor who he went viral online. He went viral on TikTok for just like jamming out to, classic metal songs and stuff like that. And people loved his personality. So then he started to make his own versions. He reacted to some of my stuff. He reacted to some of Matt Glocky's stuff. Then he started making his own versions of metal songs in yacht rock style using AI. And I don't know how he's generating them, but you have to look. The one thing I will say about AI generated stuff, that "Freak on a Leash," and I don't know for certain. I haven't talked to him. I do plan. I think I might send him a message and ask him if he's willing to give up his process, because I did a video about this. Someone asked me to react to AI stuff, and I kind of talked all about this stuff. But the thing is that with that version, something that comes out that precise and sounding that good, I don't think that's just like a single prompt in a program that's readily available to everybody. That is like programming and programming stems. And I wouldn't even be surprised if it was layers of there's a process to it. Like, hey, you're asking AI, can you make me this song, but could you make me sheet music of a progression where it's like you can take this music but make it more jazz progressions and stuff, and then you take the chord progressions. Now you have new chord progressions that you go and hear how that sounds in MIDI or something. Maybe it's a kind of like there's a combination of using programming, like actual digital programming that we use on a DAW like Logic, and we use MIDI on piano roll and stuff, and then also AI to you know what I mean?
That's the way. And I mean, you're breaking it down. You're giving it more defined language. But when I heard that, like I forgot who shared it, or I think my friend Tracy sent it to me. It was the Freak on a Leash. Hold on, Motown Freak on a Leash. Yeah, this is it. I think this is it.
Yeah,
No.
that's it. That's Professor Nick Harrison.
Yeah. So this.
How many views does it have?
This has 971,000.
Think about that. Think about the. You know.
Oh, something takes a part of me. Something lost and never seen.
Something lost.
Every time I start to believe.
See, even me, when I hear this, I go, "All right, I'm not. I don't."
Soul. There's nothing there though. Like it is programming imitating a human experience.
Yes.
And that's the problem with this.
Yes.
That's why it's never going to be sustainable. But then I see people in comments saying stuff like, you know, that's great, but I don't really care about music like that. Like there are people who say, I don't really listen to music. I just want something playing in the background while I work or while I do this. And then so you listen. So basically that means then you're okay with just listening to like empty fucking soulless nonsense in the background. I mean, I understand. I like listening to piano jazz and stuff like that. But I'll tell you, like a few years ago, when we see these Laprise playlists, you know, Laprise on YouTube. Yeah, those are. But what was cool about that was that they're.
It was a visual experience.
It was a visual experience and a playlist of actual vintage records. Like, so you were thinking like, oh man, I never heard this before. You start wondering about the artists. You start thinking, you know, what are those people like? I wonder what it was like the night that they recorded this. You start picturing this scenario, the scene, like, you know, was the studio like, was it smoky with cigar smoke? And you start thinking about this stuff because it's a possibility that that's actually what was happening. You know, like you paint this picture in your mind, but when you know it's AI, it's like the equivalent of like, you know, it's like a nightmare scenario of like this empty, weird, empty digital bar or something.
Well, you know what? It's like the nightmare I had about actually being caught stuck inside of like the scenery of Nintendo Duck Hunt.
Right. Exactly.
Like if you were in NES, Nintendo Entertainment System, we're talking 1985 Nintendo, the Duck Hunt, where there's a blue sky, little white squiggles for clouds, and then you see like a mountain, and then there's green, and you wonder like, what if I was stuck in there? I mean, it looks like a nice day. The sky is blue, but where do we go? What do we do? Do we go to that mountain? What's on the other side? And it's just, you just realize it's a 2-dimensional dead world.
I know, and I just
nobody
feeling
you
I
know
get.
is there. Like when you listen to a Frank Sinatra song, when you listen to a song that Frank Sinatra recorded, you are hearing a human voice that was sung into a microphone in a recording studio on a day where your grandparents were alive somewhere else. They were in that. You're hearing a recording from a room set at a place and time where outside of that room, people you know and were related to were alive somewhere. This AI it's like I said, it's like being stuck in the background art of Duck Hunt.
Exactly. And I just well, I was gonna say something else too. I was gonna add to that, but well, yeah, that's it's just, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I don't, and I don't really know. I don't know where it's going. I don't know, you know. Oh, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Go to like, you know, go to Laprise, oldies. Go to like oldies, like, you know, oldies playing somewhere, like one of those oldies, vintage oldies playlists, vintage oldies playing in another room. Don't go to Laprise because they don't use AI. But I'm going to tell you, like, I'll tell you exactly
Oldies playing in another room. This one.
But that's Laprizzi though.
Okay.
Not Laprizzi. We don't want Laprizzi. Just say vintage oldies playing in another room. Because I want you to go to another knockoff one, and I want you to tell me if you think it's AI or not.
Okay.
I know we're kind of what's like. Give me some of the YouTube names.
Well, Nemo's is I listen to Laprizzi and Nemo's a lot,
Okay.
but I think Nemo's is
So give me one of the other YouTube channel names.
Artist Heart. It's summer with 1950s playing.
No, go down. Is there like a
Vintage Station?
Go there. And skip around and let me know if you think.
A whisper of magic, a breath, a thrill. Eyes met like comets,
No, this is real.
You think so?
heart alive.
Copyrighted. Yeah. Wait. Let's see if.
I swear some of these are not.
Oh no! Most of them are not now. That's why people.
And that's eerie to me. That freaks me out kind of. Like, you're gonna make an oldies. You're gonna mimic a vintage oldies playlist with made up vintage oldies. Like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, to say that. Well, we're going for a vintage kind of a sound. It's like,
it's strange.
Hey, well, we can make songs like these today. It's not vintage. Autumn night and cozy vintage corner. Cozy vintage corner. Oh, this corner is so vintage. I love this city corner. How did you make? Let's see. It's a little bit too wolf. That's a little too woofly for me. Woofed. Anyway, well, that's that. Hey,
I gotta next time I'll go and dig into some of those videos and find something that is clearly AI.
Well, let's do that then. And everybody,
We could do a guess. Is this AI or real thing?
I would love that. We would need at least 4, maybe like 4 or 5 examples. We would need 4 or 5, and we can have the audience do it.
Right.
We have the audience, and that would be something we do with the audience. Is there anything else that I had set aside? Even if I did, we'd have to save it for next time anyway. And it's going to be a good time when we're on next time. Tim Gorgon will be with us, and that is it. Anthony, anything else you want to plug?
Oh, well, I have to. I mean, I should have said this before, but I officially launched my singing course, How to Build Your Voice in Much Longer Than 10 Seconds. This was this has been in the works for about a few months now.
What's the URL?
It's I don't have the URL right now. It's in the description of my last video.
Okay.
If you go and watch Break Stuff in 20 Styles on my YouTube channel, Anthony Vincent. My top pinned comment is the singing course link. Also, it's just the top comment on the it's the top comment on the description.
I see it. My musical voice.
You can put that link. Yeah, perfect.
Putting it in the chat room right now. So this is it. Now Anthony disappeared into the mountains of Colorado earlier on in the year,
in May,
to work on compiling this, and I'm really happy that it's out, and I hope it does well for you. This is the type of thing that is really good to see happening. There it is right there. How to build your best voice much longer than 10 seconds.
It is, yeah. It's well over a decade's worth of trial and error, all compiled into. I think there's like 60 videos, 60 lessons. It's and it's an explorations course, so a lot of it is just it's kind of just getting connected to the different parts of your voice, how to make certain sounds that will eventually develop into tools that you can use for different styles of singing. You know,
Let anybody you know. We got to get Aurora into that program. She's
for sure.
She's something else, man. She has to be a spot guest one day down the line on this show too.
Yeah,
See.
definitely.
Especially when she starts working with you a little bit more, then we can interview her as far as how her vocal training is going on. And have you seen that? Before we go, have you seen Bas Rutten's new oxygen trainer?
No.
It looks like this it's almost like a scuba mouthpiece, and it comes with different attachments that limit the flow of air. And you have to do these like 4 to 5 minutes a day of breathing exercises that completely explode your lung capacity and condition muscles that you just can't do. You just can't condition in any kind of.
No.
I bought it.
Really?
I said, yeah. I said I'm going to get this just to be able to attack my anxiety of, like when I get winded and I'm just like, shit, I'm never gonna breathe again. I want to just hit that straight on. And I got it. And I don't know why I didn't ask you about it, because it seems like something that you would probably love. You should look into it.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
You
for
know
sure.
Bas Rutten.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's I'll tell you about that. Maybe next time we get together, I'll have already made some headway with it. But yeah, and as for me, I'm Frank, and I'll be live tomorrow night at 9:00 for the Saturday night show. Are you going to be around, or you have something going on tomorrow night?
I'm going to a haunted attraction,
Nice.
and it's going to be one of these things where people jump out at you, and I'm not looking forward to it. I just don't like, I don't like the cortisol.
Yeah.
Fucking with my cortisol up and down, up and down. I get scared so easily, and like just I hate being jumped at. I hate that I go to these haunted attractions. I'm constantly getting jumped by these people that fucking me up. Left
Do something tomorrow where, like, when they jump at you, if they get you, like, you should start making comments about your cortisol to them.
Yeah,
You should start making little comments about that.
I just
Fucking cortisol.
I remember last year, me and Marley went to the dad's the Halloween, this Halloween this haunted house that dad was running or managing on Halloween in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Last year, and it was like it was okay. There was no like there was not a lot of that like jump scare stuff, but like I was the last in the group to walk. So like this this guy with this like pig mask was just right behind me, just making noises. I was like, I hated it. It's like it creeps me out. Like it's just like I have to no matter how much I tell myself this is all part of the whole thing, it's just it still fucks with my head. It's like, get the fuck away from me. I feel like I'm so uncomfortable.
If you turned around and blew up to get the fuck away from me, the pig person would actually step back and go, oh, and that's funny. That's funny to me. But I think you should make some kind of a comment about how you're spiking my cortisol. You just stay away from me. Stop it.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. Well, tomorrow night, 9:00, I'll be live right here in this studio. The hookah will be packed. Anthony and I's cousins Sherry and Dave will be here, and we're going to be doing a little bit of more spooky stories and stuff like that. You can see that on quitefrankly.tv. That's when we'll be live at 9:00. That's a special broadcast, which will be rebroadcast next week. And I look forward to November 7th for episode 3 of the Playhouse. So have a good night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, and see you next time.
See you next time. And I'm just staying live on my website for a couple seconds.